So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate setting up your grid layout. Posted on Canvas, there are some kind of written tutorials for explaining how to use the Align tool, and some of you might be familiar with that. But essentially all I've done for this layout is using the rectangle tool, okay, and then aligning things and placing things and adjusting the transparency. Okay, so it's really simple, all right, and but the importance of a grid isn't that it's simple, but it's really essential to your page layout. So once I have my grid layout, then I can go in and I can start playing with placing content, and it takes a lot of the guessing work out of placing your text and aligning things. So the grids are really helpful for doing page layouts. So the first thing to notice is I've got a couple of page parts here that I want to go over, and that's this layer right here. I've got margins, and it should be margins and gutter. Okay, so the margins are kind of this area around your page, and I've got about it's about roughly a half of an inch. Okay, and it would never be more than half of an inch, and it could well be less, but that's kind of just good gauge. And once you start doing layouts, you'll kind of have a preference for like what width you want your margins to be. So I've just set mine up at a half inch. The inside part of your margins are called gutters, and that's simply because when a magazine or a book is put together, when it's bound, it's either stapled or it's stitched, and the inside area for that is called the gutter. So I've defined that, and now I've got my three columns, which are just rectangles, and then I just kind of eyeballed those and then aligned them. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do this. It's really quite simple, and once you get it done, then you can have a lot of fun kind of arranging your content, and you'll be able to work quite quickly at it too, because you've got these kind of visual guides set up. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your rulers are out, and if they aren't, then go to your view menu and pull out your rulers and make sure that you can see them up here on the top and on the left. And then the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball looking at my ruler. I'm going to set mine up to be half of an inch, and if your guides are turned off, you can show them and then you can see them. If you pull it out and you can't see it, then you just have to go up to your view menu, guides, show guides. Right now mine are shown, so I've got the hide option. Okay, and then you're just going to pull out your guides to kind of create those margins. And I've got one more here. I've got a few things on my artboard, so it's a little bit, there we go, 8, there we go. Okay, so at this point then, I think what I do is just create my little rectangles, and you can just leave the guides if you want, but it really depends on if you prefer looking at lines or if you want to have shapes. So I'm gonna make mine with shapes just to demonstrate how to do that. So I'm going to turn my shape there, and it's a little strong. It's nice to kind of reduce the opacity once you get things set up, but I'll just do it all at once. And then I can just hit the Option key or the Alt key on your PC, and you can kind of arrange things like that. And then I'm just going to Shift Select and select all of my little rectangles, and I'm going to go get my transparency menu, and I'm going to reduce so it's just not, it's not like it's assaulting me. The pink is pretty strong. Okay, so there are my guides, or my page margin and gutter areas. Okay. The next thing is the and I can even turn off my guides now. I can just hide them. And actually, I need to kind of fix those a little bit. You can see when you are working, you're not zoomed in. Sometimes the details are a little hard to see, so it's a good thing to zoom in, and you can make little arrangements or adjustments. Okay, so it looks something like that. Okay, so the next thing is deciding on how many columns you want to make your grid. So I'm going to make a 3-column grid. I would recommend you should do at least 3 or 4 or 5, and you can experiment with them if you want. That would be great. And I'm just going to do 3 because I want to get through this video in a short time. So I basically just eyeballed a column and placed it. And you can use your arrow keys just to kind of move it around. And so that looks kind of nice. You don't have to really leave too much room because you've got your margins are already set up, so you can really kind of position the content quite tightly in there. Something like even that is good. And then I'm going to simply select. So I'm going to option click, and I'm going to duplicate, and once more. Now if I've got my little guide set up, then I might be able to eyeball pretty well my placement of my columns, but I really want it to be good. So what I'm going to do is make sure I have my align tool, my align menu out, and I've got my 3 columns set up, and I'm just going to make sure they're all aligned to the top. So I'm going to place them up there, and so that kind of cleaned that up a little bit. So now I want to align these 2 columns on the right to the one on the left, because the first one on the left is kind of perfectly placed. So now I can kind of distribute my objects in relation to that one. So the first thing you do to distribute your objects is you pick your, shift select each of the 3 column boxes. And then I want to actually distribute to a key object. If I go down to my align box, right now it's got align to selection. I actually want to align to the key object because that's going to be easier. So my key object I define just by clicking on that object that I want to align the other boxes to. So I just click on that. And now you can see that it has this thick kind of stroke around it, which basically shows that it's my key object. Okay, and then I'm just going to horizontally distribute it to the left. Actually, I need to horizontally distribute it to the center. Sorry. There you go. Sometimes you have to kind of play around to figure out how the distribution works. But so just to recap, you're aligning to your key object, right? And then you're doing your horizontal distribute center. And I think what I'd do is, just for the ease of fixing this, I want to just kind of move it a little bit to the center, and then that looks just about perfect. Okay, so there's my simple 3-column grid layout. Because it's a 2-page layout, I need to make a second page, and all I have to do is select everything. So draw a box around your everything, and then you're going to go to your artboard and you're going to drag your first artboard down to make a copy. And that gives you your instant kind of second artboard. So I would save this, and this is essentially my grid layout that I have, and that fulfills the first part of your editorial layout for this week.